and we are live. This gives me such an immense pleasure and joy to have you on my channel here. It's wonderful. Welcome, Vaijayanthi ji. Welcome to my channel, A Little Big Corner. It's really a very, I've been waiting for this conversation to happen from a very long time. Welcome again to
Thank
my
you.
channel.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for hosting me. And it's a new experience to me because as a journalist, I've been on the other side. So today I'll have to sit and take questions and not ask questions. So I'm in a different role today.
But I'm very happy for many reasons. One of the reasons is that I will get to talk to you, and we've had so many even before this. Whenever we've met, we've had such good conversations that I look forward to such interesting conversations. And yours is one such case. I think I told you this before also, that not just with travel or temples or textiles. I think this should have been a series of conversations, like series only on travel, series only on textiles, series. But okay, now let this be kind of a precursor to the coming series. Whenever you have time, whenever it is suitable for you, we can have series of this.
Actually, the social media has given me the image of being a textile person only because people have forgotten my past. Wherever I go, even at press conferences, I can hear people say like, "Oh, that sari you posted, the sari you posted." The images become like now the stock markets, the financial sector, everything is forgotten. I've become like a textile person now, so
So you're
it's fine.
promoting textiles. I think you are one of those textile ambassadors for India then.
Yeah, now we have
Seriously.
quite a lot of people, and it's like a very interesting and vibrant scene as far as like talking about writing on textiles is concerned. But yeah, we can talk a lot about it. Yes, you
Right,
can
right,
start with
definitely. So
wherever the conversation has to start. It's your show.
yeah, so I wanted to ask you a lot of questions on many things, but before that, before I begin, before I say anything, I want to give my viewers a brief introduction about you. So I have known Vaijayanti ji through some of my Mumbai friends, and she's been a business journalist for a very long time. Actually, she is an English literature student. She's also a student of ancient Indian culture from Asiatic Society of Mumbai, and was also the Justice Telang Ideology Fellow for 2017. And
Indology.
she's an intermittent blogger. I've read her blogs. The blogs are about so many things: interviewing people, meeting different people, or having travel logs about different places. She writes about temples. She writes about textiles. There's so many things that she writes about, and she's got such rich experience as a business journalist. I In one of my conversations with her, she tells me that. She tells me that she was one of the first women to have entered the Indian stock market for reporting. Oh my God, that's really a high thing for me, because I look up to women who have achieved so much, and yours is the time when it was a very difficult time for women to actually come out of houses and follow a career. So it gives me really an immense pleasure to have you on the opposite side of this PC.
Yeah, just a small
And
correction. It was an
already,
Indology fellow. Telang, it was an Indology fellowship. Indology fellow.
okay, Justice Telang Indology Fellowship.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I'm so sorry, Justice Telang
Oh, that's fine.
Indology Fellowship. And she is her blogs, if you've read, they're so much into details, and they speak about actual what she feels when she's writing about it. She was just giving me a brief discussion about during the lockdown, when she spoke to car sevaks, right? During the Ram
Yes, yes,
Janmabhoomi's
yes.
yeah. So you can follow her on her channel also, and on Twitter as well. My Actually, I wanted to start with travel. If so, what do you think? Like, how did it all start? How did this travel bug start for you?
I don't know. Maybe the first journey I took, that was an inspiration, or I've been a commuter from my college days. We used to commute a long distance from Arakonam to Chennai. So the trains
Mm-hmm.
were like Arakonam was known as a railway town. The
Yeah.
train was like our, the world, because it took us wherever we wanted to go to. Arakonam as a junction, the trains. So 6 years as a commuter, that was my introduction to trains. Our lives were like trains, because we used to talk in terms of 56 up and 57 down and things like that, the railway jargon. And but it's not so much that we could do those days. Being a commuter, you went to your college, but the desire, I think, was always there, to travel. Because I remember when in college final years, they wanted to go on a tour. They're discussing where to go. I had no experience. I have not traveled much, because we have done only some pilgrimages. Tirupati was like one place where we used to go very often. And Kanchipuram. Sholinger was a nearby town where my aunt lived and my father practiced in the local court there. And Trichy, Srirangam, just handful of places that I have been to. So I had not traveled much at the time, and I was just like, but then it really enthused me. I thought like I should do something about it. It's a college trip, and so I had this book called Emerald Route by R.K. Narayan.
Oh.
It was a book that he had done, a travelogue he had done, commissioned by the Karnataka Tourism Department in those days. So that
Mm-hmm.
Emerald Route he talks about all over Karnataka. That was a very nice book. I was so inspired by it. So I took that Emerald Route and I started telling my classmate that this is what we should do. So we programmed it. We go to Bangalore, and from Bangalore we'll go to Hassan, we'll go to Belur, Halebedu, and then we'll go to Coorg, Dharmasthala, Mysore, and come back. So I used this Emerald Route, to sort of think or imagine this trip, and it all happened because everybody got into it and they all did the planning and things like that. But that was my first idea of like organizing a tour or things like that. I think if this kind of a facility was available, maybe I would have become a tour operator or a travel person and not a journalist or anything, because that was a kind of interest that was there inside, to travel. But opportunities were very limited. And that Halebedu trip was like unforgettable one for me, because we used to see this Halebedu temple in the movies. There's one particular Tamil song which had been shot, Shivaji Ganeshan movie. That particular
Mm.
song was shot in Halebedu. So I couldn't even believe that one day I will be seeing the temple, in person, because we had seen this movie images, and to go and see the temple in person was like, it was like a big achievement. I had done something big in my life, that I could go and see the Halebedu temple in person. So at that young age, the most satisfying thing that could have happened was the trip to that Belur Halebedu that time.
Wow. And that too, I recall you told it was in college.
Yeah, it was in college. It was in college.
Oh
In
my God.
fact, I
So in
had
college, you're thinking of having these dedicated trips to these things. Oh, that's
yes,
so
doing
good.
these kind of circuits, no, it always interests me. Thinking of what all I can do. A lot of tour groups are now, conducted. But even in early days, I used to have this idea of a circuit. What all I can do when I go to a particular place? How do you map it? So that idea I was forming with that Emerald Route as an inspiration.
Wow. And where all have you been? As in, what has been your, I understand you must have been to a lot of places, but among that, which have been very close to your heart?
One which is closest to my heart is Mahabalipuram. I don't think there can be anything which will take away the place that Mahabalipuram has in my heart. It is a childhood memory, because that is one magnificent sight that I had seen as a child. And all that historical fiction of Kalki that we read, the Sivagami in Sabadam, which talks about Mamallapuram and all that. So I've seen Mahabalipuram, from my childhood. I must have been in fourth standard or fifth standard when I first went to Mahabalipuram.
Nice. Very nice.
So Mahabalipuram has got a very special place in my heart. So that is very special. And in terms of other sites, Hampi obviously is very, very close. Badami Patadakal Aihole, that whole, this thing, and the temples and sites in Madhya Pradesh.
Hmm.
Madhya Pradesh is like, I like travels in Madhya Pradesh. Somehow I am very impressed by the state. It's very easy to travel. People are very nice, and Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh is like an unexplored area for most travelers even today.
Is it?
Yeah. So
Wow.
Madhya Pradesh, that central India is. I'm very very fascinated by that central India, and it has got whole lot of history, and the central India is like very, and in terms of what I love, I would love to be going to the Himalayas every year if it is possible, but that is something I can't do. One trip to what to say, Ladakh or Badrinath Dham. Going to Badrinath Dham was like this thing. So Himalayas, that is something very very special.
Yeah, like when you're speaking about these places, Hampi itself is very close to my heart too because I've stayed in a place called Harihar and it is very close to Hampi. And we used to joke in our college that we plan for Goa, we end up going to Hampi. So, and like you just now spoke about Himalayas, I'm just now back from Rishikesh, and we had this conversation about Kedarnath, Badrinath, and all. Yes, definitely. Even I want to go to Badrinath. And
Yes.
do you travel solo? How difficult is it if ever you're traveling? Do you travel solo?
I
Do you
have
travel
traveled
solo?
solo quite a lot. I have traveled solo quite a lot, and touchwood, I have never had any bad experience anywhere actually in my solo travels. I didn't even have to feel any kind of difficulty, about traveling alone anywhere. In fact, I tell you, one of my first long journeys in my life, in a way, was a solo. Though it was like a conducted tour, I was alone. I didn't have anybody from my family with me. I didn't have any friends with me. I was traveling all the way from Arakonam to Kolkata, and I was going
Oh,
and staying there at the Ramakrishna Mission, this thing, because there was a Swami Vivekananda centenary celebration there. I was hardly 16, 17 years in second year college. My father used to buy this Ramakrishna Mission Tamil magazine called Ramakrishna Vijayam. I saw an advertisement saying that we are taking people from Tamil Nadu. If you are interested in attending this youth conference, you come to the Ramakrishna Mission and pay 350 rupees. You can go for this trip. I saw that and I wanted to be there. But then I was, who will send me alone to Kolkata and all that? Then I showed it to my dad. Did you see this Ramakrishna Mission? He immediately said, Ramakrishna Mission, no, go, no worries. I know them. I know how they will take care of you. I have no worries. You just go. He gave me that money, and
wow.
next day I was there in Ramakrishna Mission office at Mylapore, paying that money to go on the trip. So that was like my first trip alone, because I didn't have anyone who I knew before, and that was the first long journey that I undertook to go from Chennai to Kolkata, and we were stuck in Howrah station the New Year's Eve because it was a special train. The train was delayed by 24 hours, so the New Year's Eve we spent in
Station.
Howrah Station waiting hall, and we had a very very sweet person who was in charge of our group. Called, he was a brahmachari at that time, Rajan Maharaj, who was in charge of our group. So he made sure that all of us got our food and everything, and throughout the night singing bhajans, and we spent that night at Howrah Station. And 24 hours later, our journey started to Chennai. Throughout the way, there was nothing available to eat. We like
Oh my
almost
god.
starved by the time the train reached Andhra Pradesh. There was virtually no
Oh my
food that
god.
was available. And I
Oh my
reach
god.
Chennai station. I reach Chennai, and I think like my whole family is going to be waiting for me, because 24 hours I have not turned up. I thought the family would be worried. They will be waiting for me at the station. There's no sign of anybody there. Then I take a train from Chennai to Arakonam. Arakonam station also, there's nobody waiting for me. Then I go home. All of them are sitting and watching TV. Then I said, like, are you people not worried that I have not turned up 24 hours late? I am. I said, no, no, we're not worried. We knew that you will come back.
But you're so cool. At that age, you're traveling like 16 years, you said, and at 16th year, you're traveling
16, 17,
alone.
yeah.
And I think kudos to your father also, because he just allowed you going there. He said, no, no, no,
Yes,
you go,
yes.
you should go like that. That is so cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, he had a lot of confidence in us, and he was like very conservative in terms of the what to say the religious practices or the following whatever he did and all that. He used to read Ramayana every day, that kind. But he was also liberal at the same time. He just wouldn't interfere in our this thing and all that, and he just allowed us to travel. And in fact, my inspiration to travel had come from some of the books which he had.
Wow.
I grew up in
Okay.
a small town. I didn't have much activity or anything there. After school we just come back home, and so his library used to be there. He had a book called I think Discoveries or Marvels of the World or Wonders of the World or some such thing. It was a black and white hardbound book. It used to be. It had all the great places in the world, black and white photographs, and that used to be the book I loved the most. I used to keep taking that book out and keep looking at all the places. So that was like the first inspiration. Actually, that is one of the reasons children may not read much now, but I always believe, stack up your homes with books and pictures and like that. Somewhere in the subconscious, children might pick up those things, the nice things that you have, picked up and kept it there. For me, the inspiration was that solo travel. I had done, you know, Indonesia. I traveled alone. Went to
Okay.
Bali and Jogjakarta and all that. It was also very, very nice. Bali people were very nice. Only in Jogjakarta, what happened? I got a little worried because it was like a very crowded place, and there were a lot of guides who were chasing you for like selling you tickets or offering you taxi service and all that. So I was a little worried. So I had my friend in Singapore, Anuradha. She was in China or Hong Kong that day. So I had to call her up and have a long conversation with her to find out whole thing about Jogjakarta, and she comforted me saying that the place is very safe. You don't have to worry. So I didn't have anything to worry. Next day I went to Borobudur and Prambanan and all of it, and had a very good trip. The last trip I did alone, which was a very major trip, was going to Khajuraho and Orcha and all of it. I actually want to speak a little bit about it. I went
Sure,
to
sure. Please
Khajuraho.
do.
I went to Khajuraho at a time when so much is being written about in the foreign media about the sexual molestations in India and safety of women in India and things like that. Our media was also making much about it, the headlines it was making. I took a train from Varanasi to Khajuraho. I was alone. I
Hmm.
had attended a conference, and after that, I was going to Khajuraho. The train was supposed to reach Khajuraho by 5:30 in the morning. I had no clue about like where the station in Khajuraho was, how far the town was from Khajuraho, nothing at all. I got into the train. The guy who was in my opposite seat, actually, he was little irritating me. He was playing some loud this thing on video on his phone, and he just went on and all that. I was getting little irritated. Then I went off to sleep. Nothing. Early morning, somebody else came to speak to him.
Hmm.
So they asked me, "Where are you going?" I told them that this is the hotel I am going to. They said, like, we have asked an auto rickshaw to come and pick us up. Do you want to come with us? So, totally two strange men, and one of them happened to be a tourist guide in Khajuraho. I said, we reached ahead of time. 5 o'clock, we reached Khajuraho. It was pitch dark and winter. I didn't know what to do. And it was not like a big station where you could stay in the station till it became, bright sunrise and morning and all that. So I said, okay, let me take a chance. I went in the auto rickshaw with these two men, unknown place, pitch dark outside, and it's almost like a forest, through the way from the Khajuraho station to the town. Then the guide told me like the season is like very bad. Do you want me to come? I'll come and show you around and all that. I said fine. He was telling us like, madam, ये तो बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा है. people are like talking about India not being safe and things like that. It affects our life and think. That's when I thought, like, these are people, total strangers who were helping me. I had no problem with them. I was staying alone there in that hotel, which used to be I think it was ex Osho property. Osho, when he was alive, I think he used to conduct this thing. But now it
Okay.
is a very the small hotel. I was staying there. Next 2 days, I was going around in Khajuraho. I had no issues. And later, when I came back, a friend of mine told me, Khajuraho is supposed to be one of the safest towns in India.
Oh my God.
No crime
And I'm getting
record.
these. Why would they
No,
speak like that about us?
no crime record. And he told me, he's from Madhya Pradesh. He told me, if you left a purse anywhere in Khajuraho, it'll be there for you to go and pick up again the next day.
Wow.
So I came back and I blogged about my auto rickshaw driver and my guide, because I wanted to tell the world that, okay, bad things happen. I'm not saying it does not happen, but the thing is that let us not create a picture of like everything is bad and every place in India is unsafe. Most places in India is like pretty safe to travel alone. Most places in India, states like Madhya Pradesh and all, really cool. You don't have to worry about traveling alone. I've traveled alone in Sikkim, no trouble at all. In fact, we traveled alone in the sense like two of us women. We have traveled alone in Chhattisgarh. We have traveled in Bengal. Nowhere
Hmm.
did we face any problem either being women or being alone or something like that. Yes, the only problem which everyone would talk about is lack of facilities in terms of restrooms and things like that. That is the only major problem traveling in India for women.
Oh my God. I mean, there's so many things in this. One is you attempting something which has been already written bad and then proving it wrong. It is, it's really kudos because this kind of things is so much needed right now. I read about so many things in about India outside, and then it really feels bad because these are not true. One thing, second thing, and they're so they've hyper made it. I mean, they've just exaggerated stuff and
Yes,
put it
and
across.
they have a psychological impact on you. As a traveler, it affects you, and also I don't know what impact it has on borderline criminals or something like that. I don't know how to put it. I don't know psychology, so I can't put it properly. But this exaggeration of these stories in media, it has it does create problems for travelers as well as people who are in the travel business.
But I'm really glad and I'm actually thankful to you to have shared this via this channel because my viewers will at least know these stories about it and they'll think that no, this is like, obviously India is safe and
No,
I'm glad
actually,
that you shared
a
it.
lot of places. I'll tell you one instance. The only trip that I have done outside in the West is like Spain. I had gone for a conference to Madrid for 3 days, and then we had a visa for 7 days. So I thought I will use the next 3 days and travel. Since I'm interested in history and all that, I decided I'll go to Granada because it had that Moorish past and the Alhambra Palace and all that. So we decided I'll go to this thing. I booked a train ticket and I was traveling, and that hostel world or whatever it is, cheapest dormitories that you can think of. I booked those, and I was going to Granada. It was height of summer in Spain, and they all have the siesta. The whole
Yeah.
town shuts down. It's like Goa. If you've seen Goa during siesta,
Yeah.
it's
No, I
exactly
know
like
what
that.
you means. Yeah.
A whole town shuts down. I had got down at the wrong stop. I took a bus from the Granada station to where I was supposed to stay, and I got off at a wrong stop. And it's all a maze of area. I didn't know what to do, and there was no one around to ask. It's afternoon time, it was totally empty. Suddenly, I see a lady come from somewhere, and we had to climb. You won't believe, I couldn't speak the language, I couldn't tell. I had carried that slip that I had from the hostel word booking. I showed it to her. Then she told me, "Come along." You won't believe. She picked up my luggage. She
Wow.
picked up my luggage and walked me to the place where I had to go and told me, "This is where you have to go."
That's really nice.
The world is a nice place, actually.
Yeah, that's true. So, how did you balance your home, your kids, your passion, your travel? How did it all happen,
Uh,
or it just fell into
no,
place?
actually, in my house, like my mother is like an avid traveler. She's raring to go at any time. She always wanted to go. To me, like the lucky thing that happened is my husband, who has never been a traveler, he got converted to be a traveler after marriage. That is the biggest blessing for me. And my kid, she is like a very, very, what to say, very accommodative kid. She has been no trouble from her infancy. From the time she was 7 months old, I've been traveling with her, and no trouble at
Mm.
all. So these two things really helped me. My parents wanted to travel because they wanted to go on all the pilgrimage that they wanted to complete. So once they retired and came to Mumbai, the first trip we did was to go to Badrinath Dham.
Wow.
So we as a family we traveled because we did wanted to do all the pilgrimage because they wanted to do. We went to Pushkar, the Kartik Mela, Pushkar Mela. Then we went to Gaya to do the Shrad, Gaya Shrad. We went and did Gaya Shrad. So Prayagraj mein that this thing. So it is like most of the time we have traveled as a family. All of us travel together. There is nothing which is planned only for the old people. There is nothing which is planned only for my daughter. So all of us have traveled together in the last 15 years.
That's nice. That's very nice. In fact, talking about temples also, you just spoke about pilgrimage and all. Is there any favorite temple that you've been to? Some maybe that could
Uh,
be as a deity or the architecture or something about the temple that has been very close
See,
to you.
we have the Ishta Devata concept, right? We all have our Ishta Devatas. Like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
this thing is the Kanchipuram Varadaraja Perumal temple. The one
Okay.
which most attached to the most this thing is to me Kanchipuram. Uh, uh, Luckily for us, in the last 15 years, we've had a small apartment there in Kanchipuram, so we have been able to go there for a lot of festivals and spend quite some time there and all that. But from childhood, we have been going there, and that is the one which is closest to me, And all the temples in Kanchipuram, I can tell you, are my favorites.
I wanted to know
The
one thing
earliest,
because you.
the earliest Pallava temples you get from that area, the Vaikunta Perumal
Okay.
temple, Vaikunta Perumal temple, the Kailasnatha temple, they are like remarkable. They are like remarkable. So both the temples are very close to my heart. And they're like innumerable temples. I can tell you in terms of styles, you go to Tanjavur, the pinnacle of temple construction in the south. You go to Gangaikonda
Yeah.
Cholapuram, the aesthetics of Gangaikonda Cholapuram, the miniatures of Darasuram, the whole
I was just.
township,
Mm.
temple township of Srirangam. You go there and live in Srirangam, you are transported back in time. You go to Tirupati, the divinity, you know that it is his abode. He is there
It
and
is
it is his place.
so well
And
put.
in terms of styles, if I look at it, Karnataka, the Chalukya style, the Pattadakal, the most amazing, the Pattadakal and Aihole group of temples. And later than that, the Kalyani Chalukya period also, the Gada, Lakundi, Dambal, and all those. I don't know if I'm
Mm.
pronouncing them right. All that area. And then the Hoysalas.
Viswas, yeah.
And you go to the coast, Odisha coast, the Konark, Puri, and Bhubaneswar.
Jai-
Bhubaneswar, my God, every time you go there, you can discover a new temple. The city of Bhubaneswar has so much hidden inside it. The first time I went, somebody told, "Oh, you have not been to Parashurameshwar temple." I said, "Okay, next time I'll go to the Parashurameshwar temple." I went to Parashurameshwar temple. Then later somebody tells me, "Oh, you missed that." So now there is a big list, and I'll have to make another trip to Bhubaneswar to go and see all that I have, left out on the previous two trips. Bhubaneswar has got so much that way, and
We've been
of course,
to, in fact, today when I was making these questionnaires and all and talking, my neighbor was telling me, do speak to her about the Rameshwar Gopuram, that the sunset and sunrise can be seen from there. It is so beautiful.
unfortunate that I haven't yet been to Rameshwaram.
Oh,
There are certain things which are so close to you, but still you can't do it. I have a few like that in my list. I have made several attempts to go to Pandharpur. 30 years of living in Mumbai, I haven't yet been to Pandharpur. Three or
same here.
four
I'm
attempts
also
I have
thinking.
3 or 4 attempts I have made to go to Dwarka. I couldn't do it.
You should come to Baroda.
Yeah,
I'll take you to the.
yeah, sure. I want to come. Yes, yes.
We can even
Similarly,
do a
like
Nageshwar
Rameshwaram.
Jyotirlinga. Sorry.
Yes, I should. No, similarly, Rameshwaram, I haven't yet been to Rameshwaram. So that is like one of those really, missing this thing in the temple. And on the
And
coast, when I am talking about this beautiful temple near Trivandrum, the Varkala Janardana temple, it is just on
okay.
the coast. It's such a beautiful place and beautiful temple, and the Murti is so beautiful. And going to Varkala also, I did it alone. I was alone when I went to Varkala, Trivandrum and Varkala temples. So
In fact,
there are
Jamin is writing
too
here.
many temples to talk about. Jamin, and I was supposed to go with Jamin to Dwarka. That trip I couldn't do.
Yeah. In fact, so many times we've been to Sri Kalahasti so many times. And then last time when I came back, they said, Acha, did you notice the jot there? There's this, they keep two diyas there close to each other. One, one flame of the diya goes straight. It is so firm. And the other one is just like this. It doesn't blow out or something, but it just moves like this. I'm like, dude, I went so many times. I've been there 3, 4 times. And the last time I went there, I came back and then someone told me, I'm like, I never noticed this. There was one something like this. So this must have happened so many times, even with I'm sure there must have been so many
Yes,
anecdotes with you about this.
the Panchabhuta Stalas, like I didn't talk about the Ekambareshwara temple in Kanchi,
Hmm.
Ekambareshwara temple in Kanchi, and Chidambaram. I have been to Chidambaram so many times. It's a different feeling to be in Chidambaram, It's really a different feeling to be in Chidambaram. Chidambaram, Kalahasti. In November, I had been to Kalahasti.
Mm-hmm.
First time I saw the river in Spate, the Swarnamukhi river was in Spate. It was such a phenomenal sight to see the waters and the hills in the background and the temple there. And it is
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful. The Vijayanagara kings had done some phenomenal work for most of the temples of South India, in terms of
Yeah.
development. So the
I don't
mantapas which
remember.
they have created, the
Yeah, yeah.
Jalakanteshwara temple, the Kalyana Mandapa,
Huh.
Kalahastishwara also has beautiful mantapas. The 100
Yes,
pillar
yes.
mantapa
Very
in the
beautiful.
Vardaraja Perumal temple in Kanchipuram. So many of those Vijayanagara period architectural
I want to
marvels.
understand one thing. Like there are so much of our history is also distorted. We all know that. But how did these temples come into light for the modern world? If you see about the Amarnath, one of them is like there are two, three
Actually,
stories about it.
no, they none of these temples have actually the big temples. They've all had a phenomenal continuity. There have been disturbances. Sri Rangam had disturbance. The deity had to be taken away to safety, till things got better for the deity to be brought back. Kanchipuram also had the history of the deity being taken away to safety, the Udayar Palayam coming back. Dr. Meenakshi Jain writes about it in The Flight of Deities. But they all
Mhm.
come back and there is a continuity. You know, people did not give up pujas, or people did not give up their efforts to bring the deity back and restart the pujas or something. If you look at the tradition, there is a beautiful, I think, Amarnath Yatra by Swami Vivekananda. So you go and read about it, then you know that like how old it is. It is not like people are doing it today. Today you and I can do it because the facilities are there, but people
Must
have
have been
been
very
doing it
difficult.
for a long time. People have been talking about Kashi Yatra for centuries. How did they do it?
Right. That is true.
In
Yeah.
Badrinath, when I went to Badrinath, a very interesting thing, we were very scared, obviously, about that, especially Joshimath to the Badrinath. The road is like very, very scary, one of the scariest road travel. And
Yeah.
the driver was showing us the small route on the opposite side, He said, can you see that? He said, that is the route, the walking route in the old times. People used to take that route when they walk to the temple. So not only non-Pahadis like are scared of those routes, or like we think of like we did it in the last days. He was telling me how in the Gadwal villages also, when they went on pilgrimage to this thing, the whole town, apparently the whole village will come to send them off because they are starting on this pilgrimage. We don't know whether they will come back. So the whole village will turn up and send them off.
Oh my God. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Before I went to Kashi, na, तो my mom was telling me, तुम सबको मिलकर आए, मिलके जाना यहाँ से. I said, why? She said, no, that has been a tradition because earlier this used to happen. I said, now it is different. No. Exactly what you're saying now. I remember why she said that. Even
Yeah,
when
we
she
have
went to
to we
Amarnath.
have to come back and give a feast. Once you do the
Huh?
Kashi Yatra and all these yatras you complete, na, you have to come back and give a feast. The
Yeah.
Tadyaradhanai, what we call, we have to come back and give. Apparently, it used to happen even for Tirupati, it seems. I've heard from
Is
my
it?
mother in good old days when somebody went to Tirupati and came back, they used to do a Tadyaradhanai because there were no buses, there was no road, it was all a forest.
It
So
must have been
going to
so
Tirupati and
difficult.
coming back was a feat, and that used to be celebrated with a feast.
Wow. I mean,
So
so
there is a
many
lot
things
of
I'm coming
continuity.
knowing from you
There is
now.
so there is a lot of continuity, in the pilgrimage. This thing. We may not have recorded it in the way like we are recording it now, so we are missing whatever it is. That is why you look back 1200 years ago, Adi Shankara went all across India, and then in the Ramanuja tradition, like we look at the episode of his journey all the way to Kashmira to get the Bodhayana Vritti, to get a text he traveled all the way, to do the Sri Bhashyam, to get the text he traveled all the way to Kashmir to get it. So people travel for not today, thousands of years ago, like people have traveled, and we have been
Yeah.
migrants, we have been travelers. I think a lot of distortion comes in now because we are looking at it from a different perspective.
Thank you so much. This has been such a enlightening part of this entire conversation. I wanted to ask you more questions on this, but I really want to take a different podcast only on temples now. This is so much interesting. You like if you're talking about Hoysala temples, then the Chalukyas and different things. It's really nice to listen to them. Is there anything that has, made you like go, wow, oh my God, wow, the coming generation should know about this temple? Is there any such temple or anything like that?
As I said, like every temple has that aura. Every temple has that aura, and in terms of architecture, there is so much. Like you would be like the Shore Temple of Mahabalipuram. You stand before Shore Temple Mahabalipuram. It's such a wonderful sight. I don't think anything can beat it. Go and stand in front of the Brihadishwara temple in Tanjavur. You go and stand in front of the Gangakonda Cholapuram temple, that one frieze of that Nataraja there in Gangakonda Cholapuram, and go and see the Vimana Srirangam. Go and see the Vimana of Srirangam, and go and stand in front of that Khajuraho temple, that Lakshmana temple, and It is like, it's awesome, really. Khajuraho gets a
Wow.
bad, introduction to a lot of people because of its association with the erotic sculpture. So it gets introduced, very wrongly, and people hesitate to go to Khajuraho. But it is the marvel of the Nagara architecture. If you are interested in temples, there is no way that you cannot see Khajuraho.
Khajuraho trip planned now. Especially after this conversation, there's so many things that are now
Because there's
planned.
so many interesting things like Orcha. Orcha, I'd read about it only in Minakshi Jain's book, and after that, I decided I will go to Orcha. I'd seen Orcha only in Maniratna movie. That was my introduction. So all the chatris and things like that I saw in that Maniratna movie. It's like so beautiful. I said okay. But then when I read her book, about the Raja Ram, he is celebrated in
Mm.
Orcha temple as a Raja, as a king. So
Okay.
he gets a police salute every evening during the Aarti.
Acha,
He is a king,
this is
so he gets the. It used to be military, salute, because it's part of the in the palace, which the temple is. Now I went exactly there during the Aarti. I was trying to figure out like where is this salute happening. Then I see a policeman standing there with his rifle. He comes there every day to do that salute because he's a Raja Rama.
wow. That is so interesting. It's really interesting. Has there ever been a temple of textiles? Something related to textiles? Has there been a temple of something like that?
Textile, Gujarat, Patan, Patola.
Yes, I have a patola. I recently bought one. Patola is
Yeah.
like,
So the Rani Ki Vav, the step wells, when you see you can see all the geometric patterns that you see in Patola sari. You will see in
yeah,
the
yeah.
Rani Ki Vav, the step wells. I went to the Patola House museum afterwards, and they were telling me, no, no, the sculptors took the design from us. They are not inspired by a sculptor. They are very, very clear. They say the sculptors took the design from us. The design is ours. It's in the weave first, and then the sculptors took it. Similar, Lepakshi,
Lepakshi, yeah. The
Lepakshi, the
art.
pillars of this thing, the pillars, and also the paintings. You can see one of the most beautiful kalamkari this thing designs that you see in the Lepakshi murals.
Wow.
And the earliest textile, this thing you get from the Ajanta murals. The ikat designs, like the one which I am
Yes,
wearing,
yes.
the ikat designs you can see in Ajanta and Lepakshi murals and all that. So if you talk about temples, two or three places that come to mind immediately are Rani Ki Vav, Lepakshi, and Ajanta.
Very nice. So nice. And in fact, I wanted to ask you, like, since we were talking about even textiles, we had this as one of the topics. Have we as Indians done very little on that part? Because I know I've worked on textiles before, and I've seen a lot of Chinese import coming into India. So when I look back, what more can do you think? What more can Indians do? And whatever we've done, is it?
Um, we are very, very lucky that we are one of the countries where our traditional textile industry is alive. We are very vibrant. We are alive industry. From Patola to Kanchipuram to Banaras to Assamese weave, Odisha, Chanderi, all are alive. Only thing is that we have to get conscious about it. If we are not conscious about it, we are in the danger of losing it, because if we are going to go to the supermarket and pick up whatever is available on the shelves there without paying attention to what we are buying, slowly what we have in our tradition, it will be lost. Maybe you look at a lot of countries, handmade is like luxury. It is like paying for your diamonds.
Yeah.
Look at how much a shibori in a Japan would cost, and how much are we paying for the shibori in India. What all design our artists are today able to produce in shibori in India?
So
Batik, go to Indonesia, the batik is so expensive. The ikat in Thailand is so expensive. And come and see that we can still afford these things in India. If we don't get conscious of it, it's not that I'm against anybody. This idea of like designer clothes, in some ways like robbing us of the understanding. One way things stood firm all these years is the tradition. A Gujarati wedding, a patola would be there. A Maharashtrian wedding, a paitani would be there. Okay. Tamil
Rajasthan
wedding,
Bandhani.
Bandhani. The Garchola would be there. In my area, it is Kanchipuram sari. Banaras, UP, Bihar, and all of it, Banaras, the Balusheri. When you got married, at least for weddings, you bought all those saris. They're all
Yeah.
expensive. Today, you have to have an occasion to buy them. So the most expensive Kanchipuram or a Banarasi or a Paitani or a Patola, you will buy during only the wedding. If they're all going to be like some designer, whatever that is coming and taking over, these saris will, I don't know where they would be after some time. The designers, they won't be conscious because they are like driven by what they think is their design creativity. And we also think like we need something very modern. Wearing these saris are not very hip, but I look at it as like I'm amazed at the continuity that is there in my tradition. My mother, my grandmother, the great grandmother, the whole generations wore almost a similar sari. Would I go and exchange it for something else today? I think if we are not getting that for our weddings and things like that, and if you're not very conscious, we definitely are in danger of losing that textile tradition. We have to be very
Yeah.
conscious.
In fact, even the original stuff that we buy in India is very expensive. If you go and buy the original patola, it will come minimum of 50,000 onwards. At least the ones that I have seen in the proper houses of textiles here.
Yeah, the original patola, if you want the Patan patola, it will be nothing less than lakh and 20,000, lakh and 30,000.
Yeah.
It is that is a kind of thing. Okay, people may say, affordability. See, not everyone buys iPhone. Everyone doesn't buy an iPhone, right? Everyone doesn't buy a Mercedes or a Rolls Royce. It's like the Rolls Royce of your textiles. I may not be able to buy, but I shouldn't grudge existence of a craft like that and somebody else being able to afford it. That is why I would want more lavish Indian weddings. I'm very happy when the wedding scenes that came from Mukesh Ambani's daughter's wedding or son's wedding. They had given patola stoles to all the guests.
Yeah. I saw that. And plus, there's
Yeah,
so much of economy that gets circulated everywhere. So many people benefit from one wedding.
yes, yes. So it is not like simply yes. It is. If I can't afford it, I can go on. Today there are options. Rajkot is making single ikat patolas, which are copies of the double ikat patolas of Patan. That you get for 10,000 rupees. That you get for 10,000 rupees, 12,000 rupees. You can buy it. Now it is coming in cotton. It is coming in linen. You're getting in the fabric of your choice. There is so much that is happening there, but the craft has to exist. It is like a Rolls Royce. Somebody who can afford a Rolls Royce would buy a Rolls Royce. That's how
Yeah.
I look at it. But the craft is very important.
Is there any favorite textile of yours? Something that you love wearing? Oh yes, this is my one of my favorites.
No, everything is my favorite. I have, I don't discriminate at all. When it comes to textiles, every weave is like a favorite weave. And sometimes, I order something, I get something else. I don't grudge. I said like, okay, he has done it. It is his weave. He has done that color. It does not come out right. Okay, let me wear it like that. But I am. little biased towards the Odisha handlooms. In terms of
Yeah, I've heard
ikats,
you
I
describing
find
them.
the Odisha ikats very aesthetic, and the kind of range they have and all that, where it's a very understated elegance that Odisha brings about. Otherwise, Kanchipuram.
So if I have to buy something which is original, how do I understand this is original? Because see, I bought one Mysore silk sari from the Karnataka boards wherein they give you a certificate. They put it on the
Yes,
sari itself that this is an
yes,
original piece. So how
yes.
do I see if I have to buy an ikat sari, just like Odisha's ikat sari? So how do I
Odisha,
find it?
see, you have the cooperative government emporiums like Boyanika is there, or Sambalpuri, Basralaya are there. They all come with the handloom mark and the silk mark and all of it. There you can buy. And in other places, when you're buying it from a store or a person who you're not very comfortable with, then you will have to look for these handloom. But even handloom mark or a silk mark, somebody can cheat. I believe they all buy it, bulk and put it in this thing. So you have to understand, or you stick to people who, if I go and buy in Bionica, I go and buy in the Indrayani. Indrayani is now changed name to something else, Maharashtra Handloom. I go and buy there. I go and buy from Gurjari or Mridnaini, all the state emporium that are there, you know so you know that, okay, at least what comes there are true. Otherwise, go by names, word of mouth suggestions and things like that. All the state
Yeah.
emporiums you can go and understand. You go to Delhi Connaught Place, all the state emporium are there. It's like a tour you can have of seeing the variety of India's textiles there.
Truly, I think
Baba Kadak
Jaimin
Singh,
calls you.
Baba Kadak Singh Marg. Baba Kadak Singh Marg is like used to be my favorite destination in Delhi.
I think apt it is. You know what Jaimin calls you is very apt. Vaijayanthi is handloom queen. He mentioned it here only in the comments also.
Where is my Kohinoor?
That Jamin will let you know. But this, I think this discussion was so good. I One last question which I ask almost every guest of mine: has there any
Yes.
message of yours? You've discussed so many things. I am really proud as an Indian right now. It fills me with pride because there's so much of architecture that you discussed about temples and about travel, how safe it is, and even about the textiles. There's so much of talent in India. So what is your message to people or
See, my
my
message is right now, there's a lot of awareness that has come in about either travels or the places or even textiles and things like that. But people look at it as that is the past.
okay.
We should be progressive. We should be looking to the future. We should be going with times and all that. I want to look at it as a living tradition, and as custodians of the living tradition, what is my role in it? Don't look at it as a
Good.
past. At least, you may have reverence to the past, or you may not have reverence to the past. But at least look at it as a living tradition, and you are custodians of that living tradition.
Amazing. This conversation was like so good. It was super enlightening. There's so many things that I really loved about the conversation. And obviously it was so interesting also that you've shared so many anecdotes and so much of your experience. I'm really glad that I invited you. I'm really thankful to you that you came to my
Thank
channel.
you so
Truly
much. It
grateful.
like it gave me an opportunity to relive a lot of my memories, and also talk about all my favorite subjects.
I'm actually looking forward for more such conversations with you. In fact, having anytime, whenever it is comfortable for you, anytime it is convenient for you, we can have series of conversations on temples only, or only on textiles, or only on travel, or even on your
Sure.
experience as a journalist. So I'm really looking forward for more such conversations.
I said, like, I'm really glad to share what little I know, because I think we need to talk. We need to talk more about, you know,
Yeah.
whatever we feel about, in the sense like we are at that juncture in history where there is, it's important to talk.
Yes. So that now people will start. In fact, I'm sure people who have seen this conversation, they'll now have this feeling that no, we should buy something, we should buy it original. It's okay to pay price for it. So that is also really, I'm looking forward for more such conversations with you. Thank you so much for everyone. Please do subscribe this channel. We'll have many more videos coming in. Thank you,
All the
everyone.
best,
Thank
guys.
you
All
very
the
much.
best for your future endeavors. All the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.